And it's Flat Earth Friday. How are you doing, brother?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be here. I hope everybody had a great day. Yeah, I'm excited about the content. It's crazy. First, this is ranking up there with the balloons. Am I speaking too loud? We had the whole balloon psyop, and we had to go over that. But now we have this whole submersible sub psyop going on. It's just crazy.
Yeah, the
I know
pressure's
you
going to
also
be on tonight, right?
I know you also want to go over distance to the horizon and the calculator and the formula that we're going to be using. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So how you doing?
Good. It's been a busy week, super busy. So we've got a bunch of fun tabs tonight, but I'm just going to let you know we're sort of just winging it tonight because I didn't really have time to get them all organized and have like a super flow to it. But yeah, like Ronnie mentioned, we're going to be doing some myth busting when it comes to pressure and these submersibles. It's a total psyop. This whole submarine thing. And we're going to be showing people how you can see through these psyops, and you can see how it's easily debunkable. And once it's debunked, it's not real. It's just a news headline. It's a story that they're running with, and it's got some mind control attached to it. I think they're really mocking people's sort of physics processors that they have in their head with some of these things, because when you hear and see what pressure does at these different depths, it should be pretty easy to figure out that it's not real what they're doing. So, what is it? Why are they running this headline now? You've got the total other angle on this story where it's not the first time they've run this narrative before, right?
Yeah, this is the second Titan. So the first Titan was the book they wrote in the late 1800s, and it was the exact same route, the exact same great feat. They built this big ship and they sailed it across the Atlantic, and it hit an iceberg in the same exact spot. And there wasn't enough lifeboats for everybody on the boat, and it was called the wreck of the Titan, right? So now we had the Titanic that happened some 15 to 20 years after the book was written. Now, boom, we're in 2023 and we've got the wreck of the Titan again. But this time it's a submersible that was supposedly down there filming the wreckage of the Titanic, right? So there is a lot of different depths involved with this pressure system that we're looking at tonight. And it's pretty funny. The psyops to me are hilarious. I had more fun recovering that than a lot of other stuff. It is annoying, the balloons, how people were fooled by, this balloon thing and how far people think they can see. So now it turns to how far do you think people can go underwater? You're muted, bro. You're muted.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry. Hopefully that wasn't too long, but continue, please.
Yeah, I was talking about pressure, how we had covered it before, and that it had to do with going to space, right? And the way we covered it was we first talked about the pressure pushing in on something at depth, and how if you were in a submersible, something going under the water, the extreme pressure pushing in, that we have the same problem as you go up. And because pressure, right, is 14.6 pounds per square inch at sea level. So as you go up and there is less and less pressure, you now have that pressure exerting outwards. So we're going to be talking and showing tonight how there would have to be all these bulkheads, and there would have to be all this structural support for these materials so that they wouldn't collapse at
Yeah.
these deep pressures. Just like we were showing before, how things like the ISS would need to have actually a cage, a structure around it, holding it, pushing it in, because the pressure inside that vessel would want to make it burst.
Yes.
So there's that. We're going to be covering the distance to the horizon. So our last Flat Earth Friday was a huge success, everybody. Big round of applause. Clap yourself on the back, because we have two new world records for the longest distance to the horizon sightings. And so as a result of those new records coming in and doing the studies, the checks to see whether or not those are viable possibilities, because a lot of times say this, I can see this from here or I can see this from there, and it doesn't check out. It's not real. But these are both people can go there. Now you need to have good viewing conditions. It can't be it's got to be perfect viewing conditions in order to see these. But what we have now is we actually can even test mathematically to see whether or not situations are even viable possibilities for long distance records. And hopefully by the end of tonight, y'all should be able to pick any two locations and say, all right, this one's this altitude, this elevation is this altitude. Would I be able to see this elevation from that elevation? And we've got the formulas. We're going to be showing you how to see all this. And we've got some 3D modeling for it. So I've got a setup in motion where we're going to be able to play with a smaller circle of sight, a larger circle of sight, and show you how things come into view and go out of view on a plane. All right, there's no curvature involved in any of this, yet there is a distance to the horizon. There's some shills out there that have said that it's just a trick, it's an illusion. Our eyes don't. No, we actually see a true distance to the horizon where take a water tower and start walking away from it, and at a certain point that water tower is going to be so small and low to the ground that it's going to disappear from the point of view. So there's all that. Lighthouses play a big part of this. It's really some I'm sort of a nerd when it comes to this type of stuff. I like knowing that, all right, well, if the lighthouse is that high, how far away can I see it from, right? And all that kind of stuff. And then we've got some gravy clips, just some fun stuff to be sharing with y'all this Friday night that get you excited. Go out and film some of this stuff yourself. It's out there to be recorded, right?
Yeah, anyone could do it. You just need a good camera and a good tripod if you want to do it well. But my quick rundown again. So dealing with submersible type situations, when you find in the story that the military was like, sorry, we can't help you, right? If the military is unable to help you because the depths that you're supposedly going down are deeper than they're able to reach, I mean, you need to really check on whether or not the fix is in. They're lying to you. If the military couldn't go down and retrieve the capsule or whatever, obviously it's not there. It's beyond the human capability, right? So there's that. And then with your distance to the horizon and people, let's just keep this really simple. When we look around us, we can only see so far. There's a horizon there, and the sky meets the horizon. Jason, you did a video a while ago where you went and filmed water towers, and they were at different heights above the horizon, like you said. So we just want people to start to understand that you can see so far around you on a flat plane. And when things get to that point, we call the vanishing point, you see less and less of them until they disappear. That's the way it works on a flat plane. We've been explaining it for years, but we're going to get into it a little bit deeper. You got new modeling, Jason said, that we're going to get into. And it's really simple, you guys. This is not complicated. The sun rises, the sun sets. Okay. It rises and goes around us. We can see so far, and we want everyone to be standing in the truth of what is, just what is. We're not going to try to, to go to virtual reality tonight, but that's my long rant, and I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah. So just a little bit more. Today's Friday, June 23rd. And, guess what tomorrow is, everyone, on the Hebrew calendar? Hebrew calendar day. Let's see if anybody can pull this out of their hat. What is the Hebrew? It's not a festival. I'm giving you clues now. It's not a festival. Well, it is.
It's a festival.
It's a festival. Yeah, it's a festival.
Everybody already celebrated it. It's another clue.
Yeah, everybody in the world already celebrated it. All right, so tomorrow is Pentecost. Tomorrow is the 50-day count from the first fruits. And so it's the 6th of Sivan. Right? So not much to do for it. It's just recognize it. Understand that it's Pentecost, and that's when the Holy Spirit was poured out on the 120 in the upper room. So,
Yeah.
are we going to see anything special tomorrow? I don't know, but it is Pentecost tomorrow. So, the next thing after Pentecost that we're going to be watching for is trumpets. And trumpets is going to be super exciting. There's going to be a whole bunch of hoopla bias for this, because the day before trumpets, all right, is annular solar eclipse that's running right past us here in Texas. Now we're actually going to be going and staying at the intersection of where that annular solar eclipse and where the Great American Eclipse, the one that's 7 years from the one we went to last time, we're going to be right at an intersection there, and that's happening
April 24th.
Yeah, the Great American one next year. But so
October 13th? No.
Or 14th, something. Yeah. So Tishri 1, I can pull up the calendar, but I'm just telling everybody what we're going to be paying attention to. So trumpets is something to be excited for. We got the sun being darkened, all right, and then because we're going a month later than everybody else, we also have the full. It's blood moon, or a lunar eclipse, is what they're calling it on the first day of Tabernacles. So the fall festivals is something we're going to be super hyped up for and excited, right?
Yeah, well, we also have the rising of the Sirius star. Then we have the sign of the Virgo coming, the Virgin. There's a bunch of things also. You're not going to talk about the ninth of Av.
No, the feast of new wine and oil.
New wine, yeah, I wouldn't mind being drunk on new spiritual wine tomorrow, like it happened 2,000 years ago. That would be wonderful, and for everybody that's tuned in right now, for you to be all of a sudden speaking in languages that everybody can understand, and prophesying and speaking the truth. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. But yeah, no, I'm excited for getting into the content tonight.
Now we have heard. So the Feast of New Wine and Oil, these were 50-day counts. So we are now at real Pentecost, real Shavuot, taking place tomorrow at sundown. And so you could start another 50-day count from there, and that would supposedly take you to the Feast of New Wine, and another 50-day count to the new oil. But
they're harvest checking time spots.
They are.
That's all they are. They're set up to keep stats. And again, Jason, you were saying how much, we're both stats geeks. So one stat I want to throw out, you need to go 76,000 miles in altitude up into the sky to see the entire map of the Earth. So I think it was Enoch was taken up and he could see the entire map. So Enoch went 76,000 miles up.
And we're gonna show everybody tonight how they can figure that out for themselves too.
Yeah, but I love stats too. When I drag race, I just always wanted to know the stats. And Jason too, we're stats geeks, and we just want to share the truth with everybody. We don't sell t-shirts. We do this out of just our passion for the truth. This is our passion project. And we're just happy that any of you guys actually found us. So, and please bear in mind, we're just trying to do our best. The technology we always get messed with, but we're hoping to have a good time, and the CIA will probably leave us alone.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining, everybody. Sunday, we do plan on doing more timeline work where we're going to be showing on so the 7-year Great Tribulation time period. We're going to be placing all the seals, bowls, and trumpets out on that timeline, and doing it with some fun graphics and showing everybody where these things line up and where they don't, because that seems to be the thing these days. Brenda's got her whiteboard out, and she's done it, and it's not right. So we want to straighten it all out for y'all.
I can't wait, brother. Sunday's going to be great. Everybody, make sure you're tuned in.
And when we come back, we're going to be getting into some pressure-related stuff. We'll see y'all in a minute.
Sitting on a park bench, waiting for the sun to rise. Another night spent trying to find the kiss of life. And I think of a girl who once knew, slept in an attic room near the bar where we danced. find an easy high here. Another night spent trying to catch a stranger's eye. But all I do is swipe through photos of you on this telephone. Romance is dead and it glows. I can say no more, no more. And I've only got myself to blame. Only got myself to blame. Oh, it's such a crying shame. You look pretty, so pretty, baby, when you cry. I'm better looking, so better looking when I lie. Only got myself to blame. To blame. Whisper sweet nothings into my ear. Call me your boy one last time, be sincere. I know it's true, yeah, that I can barely hold my phone. Yes, I'm drunk. Don't hang up. I'm falling on myself. To blame. Only got myself to blame. Oh, it's such a crying shame. You look pretty, so pretty, baby, when you cry. I'm better looking, so better looking when I lie. Only got myself to blame. Yeah, only got myself to blame. Oh, only got myself, only got myself, only got myself to blame.
And we're back. Guess how many PSI there's supposed to be at the depth the Titanic is? It's a lot.
You got it on the screen. You got it on the screen.
It's a lot.
6,000.
6,000 pounds. All right, so I want everybody to visualize what it takes to exert 6,000 pounds of PSI. That's 1 square inch. All right, so a 1 square inch right there. Now you have to stack, if you're going to use steel, right, you would have to have 6,000 pounds, just 1 square inch, and then however tall it would have to be in order to equal 6,000 pounds. And you would have to have one of those rods pressing down on something every square inch.
Every square inch.
Every square inch.
A metal bar going from one side of the capsule to the other.
Yeah, three tons. 3 tons. That it's a good amount of weight. All right,
Yeah,
per
to set
square
down
inch.
Yeah, to set down a chunk of steel that weighed a ton, you have to have some pretty serious supports under it.
All right. So this whole headline regarding this thing, we just laughed at it and scoffed, and we see all the people running with it, and it's nonsense. Check this out. So this is global news 2 days ago. The missing Titanic sub. What's inside the Ocean Gate vessel?
I already got a red flag. Ocean Gate, exactly what it is. Brother, what are we looking at on the screen?
That is supposedly this dive vessel, right?
Well, why in this picture does it have a giant viewing window in the front? That's the one you'd want, right? If you were really going down?
That'd be cool, right?
Yeah, you want to see everything down there.
Yeah, so it's got this huge bubble on this thing that they're showing. So this obviously is not the vessel that...
Not the same thing.
Not the same thing, because that one has a tiny little port like it would have to be. A device like this is probably going to make it to about 50 feet, and that's the limit of its... And so it's got all of its air tanks up here, so this thing has to be tethered. This is not the thing, but check this out. This is what they had to say.
Submersible is a high-tech capsule built to withstand immense pressure. So
that was the big...
That's a different one.
That's the big bulb of a thing right there.
Tons per inch at the depth of the Titanic.
That was co-designed with NASA.
David
NASA.
CBS once made the dive with Ocean Gate founders Stockton Rush, and while the
So this is the the inside of this thing.
They sit like that.
Yep. Indian style. All right.
Okay.
Capsule is ultra-modern. He was
Ultra-modern.
improvisation.
So, they just showed it for a second there. That was not the big bulb.
There's the viewing port.
All right.
Improvisation of some equipment.
I got these from Camper World.
So, Camper World, yeah.
What kind of nonsense is this?
Saying this on television, the CEO of OceanGate.
And look at the reporter when he says the next line here. Watch his face.
Yeah, and look at this logo on his shirt right here.
We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Game controller.
So how
The reporter just loses it, right?
Listen, everybody. This thing goes down further than the supposed military can. Okay? Look at what a joke this is.
so how prepared
All right. So now this is supposed to be an underwater shot of this thing. So they've got a platform with 4 tanks at the corners, and this thing taking off. And this is really, look for it. We couldn't find any more footage of this thing underwater than this thing.
This is it. This is the only clip. And, well, I think we've seen one of it where it came out of this position with the whole getup.
Yeah, while it was being lifted out by this platform thing.
Yeah.
craft or rescuers if the sub
If that's
snagged
the
in
I
fishing?
Still Love You 2.0 or whatever.
So this article, remember, this is listen to this. It's
So how prepared is the craft or rescuers if the sub snagged in fishing nets or lost all power?
so they're already asking the question, how? No, so here you can see this, and one of the things that you need to understand about going down in the water is the deeper you go, you lose light. Maybe somebody could look and see at what depth it is that it's totally dark out and you have to use a light. But we're gonna know from whether or not they're using a light how deep they are, right? Because
the lights? Where are the lights?
yeah.
Where are the lights? Where are the lights? Where are the tanks with the oxygen in them, bro?
When,
The lights.
and here's the
oxygen.
Here's the problem with the lights, right? So you need to have a transparent glass, right, in order for the light to be able to go through it. And now you're limited by your transparent materials as to how much pressure those things can handle. So a camera lens, a light, all these things, they're limited by the material that at what point does that material collapse and break under pressure?
Extreme cold, total darkness, and crushing pressure at depths most submarines cannot.
So here we're supposed to be looking at like the Titanic or something, right? So understand that at this depth there is 0 light from the surface. It's 100% pitch black. So the only thing that you would be seeing is what was being lit up by the actual light.
Hold on. And what are we looking at here on Global News? Okay, this is the shot that they give us. Okay, if anybody out there thinks that the Titanic literally sunk there and somebody went down 12,500 feet and they're able to film it, this is the only footage. If there's more, please leave a comment below. Try to get us the link. Now, when you try to leave a link, actually, it'll get blocked or put into spam. So just say, I have footage of the, Titanic. Footage from anyone. Please show me anybody who has footage of the Titanic. I'd like to see it. So this is what they show us on the news. Is that the anchor right there? What kind of symbolism are we looking at?
Well,
this is the front bow, like
everybody knows from the movie that this isn't the bow of the Titanic, right?
Rose wasn't standing. What do you mean? No, that's not right. But this is what they're showing us. So continue.
Navigate.
Not even radar works.
Not even radar works.
What? Radar doesn't even work?
Yeah, this is the Titanic expert.
He's the expert.
Not even radar works.
Can't have a line tethering it all the way down because it would be too.
Ooh, you can't have a line tethering it all the way down because it'd be too heavy. So now,
I'd want one with oxygen.
In order to pull something up, it's going to have to be a certain gauge cable, right? And that, if it needs to be a 1/2 inch or an inch, that's going to be some heavy metal. If you're going to go 13,000 feet, you're going to have this vessel up above that has this spool of huge cable on it. And, yeah, that's all got to be factored in.
12,500 feet of cable. Really what you would need to pull it up, to let it down, and to supply it with air.
Yeah, air too. Yeah, definitely air.
That's how divers do things. They take air tanks with them, or they have a tether with air and power coming to them. That's the only way that we can really go down. And I got to be honest with you guys, it's treacherous. It's super dangerous. Like, it's same with going up into the sky. There's only a few military people that get to fly in. What are those planes that go up the? I put you on the spot. I'm sorry. I can't remember what they are, but they go up real high, and they got to have pressure.
U-2 spy plane.
That's right, the spy plane. It hasn't been outdone since like the 60s or 50s. That plane. And now we have deep submarine submersibles, and there's even the military doesn't go down as deep as these people say that they are.
Well, I'm gonna be showing some of the records coming up in a little bit. I just wanted to show everybody what they actually are saying about the design and build of this, submersible.
Too heavy and too much drag. So it's really a bit like a moonshot.
The sub,
A moonshot.
7 meters long.
He said it's really like a moonshot.
What does that even mean?
Well, he's saying the moon was fake, so it's really like the fake moon landing. They're just faking this.
Standing in front of CGI here too.
Yeah, this isn't real.
The crew entered by the titanium cap with the viewport, and they were bolted in, cannot get out themselves, even if they surface.
Bolted in. Who's signing up for this? They're paying $250,000 to get bolted into this thing.
Right, and you got to sign a waiver too. It says if you died, you're dead. That's it.
And the port window is maybe just a little bit bigger than a foot, so you get to
see a foot maybe.
And then you have to have lights shining on everything down there because it's pitch black.
And they shine so little too, because it's not just empty water. There's tons of plant life and stuff. You can't see that far.
Inside, it's about the size of a minivan. 5 people with snacks, a little bit of water.
All right, so 5 people. 5 people are getting into this thing, and they need to have air. All right, they need to have air, and so when they're exhaling, they're putting out not reusable air.
The carbon.
Right? Yeah. And they're all in this same container. Where's the air? Where's the air?
Where's the air supply to the tank?
You can't just pump this thing up and pressurize this, because you would have thousands of pounds of PSI pushing against you inside here. They would squish you.
The whole thing is just so ridiculous, you guys.
Water, but only enough air to breathe. It's estimated for about another day and a half.
How does he come up with that?
A day and a half. 5 people can get into a tank this size.
You're gonna say the air tanks are in the wings?
We already heard that it's not tethered. They're not getting air from the surface.
Oy vey.
There are many ways to the surface. The mystery for those who've been down there, if it hasn't already surfaced somewhere, why hasn't it?
It has different kinds of
They're already asking, why hasn't it?
ballast it can let go.
This guy's
Born
crazy.
for those people. Freak out. Call your PM. Let them know how sad you are for the missing Titanic billionaires.
It has an inflatable air bladder. It has propellers.
It has an inflatable air bladder. Where does that air come from?
Where does it get launched out of? You have to inflate it. It brings it out of the... It's a 0 point under seawater air creator.
It might be like those MRE meals where all you do is add water to it and it becomes air.
Maybe it's one of those add water to
Air.
It's one of those giant grow in the water thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So why isn't it at the surface?
Ron Toigo went down on the Titan once, and
Look at this
communications
guy.
were...
He went down, huh? Here's his proof.
There he is.
Keep watching.
They got the camera footage.
They got him on the cell phone. That's not added in after too, right? Keep going.
But look at this. You got these half-inch bolts every foot going around here.
Withstand 6,000 pounds. What kind of gasket is in between there? Do you even see a gasket?
There's no gasket. No gasket.
There's no gasket. That's
the machining's so perfect that when they bolt this down, it can't leak.
Alien technology.
were lost for a couple of hours, but he says the crew was fully prepped.
When you go there,
They were prepped.
They were lost for hours. Vancouver Giants.
Vancouver.
Yeah,
Right,
Giants
now
president.
Yeah, but he was the one who went into the Newfoundland, so he was on the Atlantic Ocean, not in the other side, right?
But look at the way they set up the shot. He's got to have the
Sphere
glow.
Earth.
prepared for all this. Like they don't hide anything. They tell you virtually, all the issues,
Virtually.
things.
But Toigo is
Did you hear
worried.
that?
It's
Did you hear what he said? Oh yeah, here's his proof. Here's the cell phone footage. I might want to zoom in on that. He said they don't hide anything from you. They tell you virtually, right? That's what he said. Those were his words.
Like virtually, all the issues, a number of things.
But Toigo is worried.
It's really the families that you got to have, feel for right now.
The Coast Guard says it's
Yeah.
sending all
They're
available
heroes.
resources,
Families
but there's
are
no
heroes.
certainty the sub can be brought up from the depths.
This is a complex case, and the Coast Guard doesn't have all the resources to be able to affect this kind of rescue.
Oh, it's the Coast Guard. Sorry, not the military. The actual Coast Guard. They don't have the technology. If they did, they'd go down in a nanosecond and rescue those people.
But they lost that.
But they lost that technology.
It's too hard to build back.
It's a difficult process to build back.
So then they go ahead and show you something like this. All right, this
That's not it.
this looks way fancier than the other one, right?
Yeah, it looks like it has a tank underneath it. Those tanks down there.
We should assume that they're bladders, right? Because you need to have stuff like that if you're going to go down and go back up. And
It's tethered, I think.
yeah, but so just wait. This thing looks fancy. We're going to be getting to the links showing what happens at what depths, and I think you'll start to realize that this right here is for cruising around 100 feet, 200 feet, not going deeper than that.
French are sending a deep submersible for what would be a miracle rescue beneath the surface.
You're not going to be able to transfer them onto another vessel at depth. You're going to have to bring the whole submersible up, attach some.
See, you can't transfer from one to the other, right? It's
What are you going to do? How are you going to hook something onto it and drag them up? What are you going to do down there?
To help bring it up and then extract
It's
them.
ridiculous.
That's all going to take a lot of time.
And what rescuers do not have is a lot of time.
nope. Ran out of time. There was another clip. These guys 3 days ago ran an article on the making of Titan. Right? It's the same footage that everybody's running with, but we'll just watch their version of it.
An Everett-based company just finished building a submarine that they'll take to the Titanic this summer.
It's going to be amazing. It's part of a project to survey the wreckage of the ship. Como's Gabe Cohen got an up-close look.
So there we get a look at the door. We've got maybe like 1 inch thick. Looks like aluminum. Right? It doesn't look like it's really heavy iron. And you've got this. This isn't solid metal, a solid wall around here. They're going to be showing you some peaks.
Today, he has more.
Matt, how long would it take you to take these off?
Our deep dive starts at sea level in the Ocean Gate Workshop,
Cutting this a little bit.
where the team is putting the final touches on Titan, their most advanced submersible yet.
Brings a tear to my eye.
That's Director of Engineering.
So hold on,
Tony-
pause it. So I just want to point out, over 100 years ago, they wrote a book called The Wreck of the Titan, and they were so proud of their technological abilities with the ship, and then it sank in the book, and then the Titanic did the exact same thing on the same route. The same amount of people died, the same amount of lifeboats they didn't have. Now we have 2023. It's the same narrative. This is the exact same. So I see some kind of a virtual reality type weird loop ritualistic thing that they're doing with the words, the names, the whole down in the water. This could have been taking place. They could have been doing these rituals for thousands of years, but we're calling it out and exposing it for the fraud that it is. It's a joke to us.
All right, so anybody that understands how you build stuff, we saw a picture before of this door hinged open. And we saw it hinged where the door was swung open, and this was the hinge side right here. And now there's no hinge.
There's no hinge.
Right?
Maybe it's flipped on the phone, on the camera.
I don't know. So I mean, it's fine if you're going to bolt it on.
It's not flipped. His T-shirt writing is the correct direction, so it's not flipped.
No hinge.
Nissan.
It's a lot of pain to get here.
A lot of pain.
A lot of pain to get here. We did this extremely fast.
They're
The pain,
With their psyops.
the pain wasn't because it was hard to build. The pain was because they had to do it so fast.
So fast. Nobody ever built anything like this so fast.
was to build a vessel that can dive 30
There's the real footage of it right there.
for a mission to the Titanic. Titan is headed there in June. It can dive 4,000 meters, thanks in part
4,000 meters. Look at what did they have on the gauge here? 13,000 feet. All right.
Yeah.
13,000 feet. You can.
That gauge wouldn't even survive at 13,000. Sorry.
Oh, it said fine and rainy. Look at this. Watch this. They're joking with people. Look at it. It says fine.
It's a little worse on
here, rainy. This is the altimeter sun barometer. Set to 13,000 feet.
thanks in part to its carbon fiber structure.
The strength.
All right, so carbon fiber. If you're making a high pressure container, let's say you want to put a whole bunch of gas into a cylinder, the new hydrogen vehicles, the ones that are doing it by storing the hydrogen under pressure, what they do is they use carbon fiber and they wrap it around the tank because it's extremely strong in its tensile strength. And that way the tank can't really explode because the carbon fiber binds it in. But here we have the absolute opposite problem because all of the pressure is going to be pushing against this carbon fiber shell inwards.
Pop can shaped.
Yeah, so
how strong is the walls of a pop can? Everybody in the chat, little test that we can all verify. And look at the stupid patch on this guy's arm. They look at this. They made that patch. They rented this commercial space. They've got this thing here like that. What is that? Is that the gasket? It looks like a blanket. A parachute? Maybe that's the inflatable. There it is. There's your inflatable save dinghy thing.
Okay, I see where the hinge is. There, it's farther back on the bell.
Okay, and there's your inflatable thing, your raft.
All right, but everybody, look at the size of this hinge, and understand that if this was heavy structural steel, you would need way more than a hinge like this to be able to support this bell. All right, so this isn't heavy metal. This is aluminum.
Strength, weight, and buoyancy that we get out of it exceeds really any other material out there.
Tony says this frame will feel about 150 million pounds of pressure near the ocean floor. But
what?
150 million pounds of pressure?
That's what the architect, the designer of this thing said.
Engineering, they did the math on how many. Can you play that again? 1 million pounds of square.
Yeah, is that all the way up? It's a little quiet.
its frame will feel about 150 million pounds of pressure near the ocean floor, but the team inside won't feel a thing.
150 million pounds of pressure.
Show us the footage of it.
5 will squeeze into Titan for each dive and view the wreckage on these monitors. To fly the vessel, the pilot uses a PlayStation controller.
Over 6 weeks of dive.
So all that pressure is on all this equipment, everything, if it's going down that deep. And then where's the lights? Where's the cameras on this vehicle? Look around it and you won't see any of that.
Laser scanners and high-def cameras will map the Titanic and...
Oh, look at, so let's go back here.
That? What is it? Hang on.
This
they had like one of those car lights that you LED.
This is inside. Then it doesn't really do a whole lot. If it's outside, you got some serious problems here.
And its decay over the past century.
Hold on, pause it there. Look at. Did you see? What's that? What's the ring? Oh, they've got an LED ring light around the eye of the capsule, and it's holding like a little birdie.
A fish lure or something.
Fish lure or something. What are they doing?
So somebody's going to pay $250,000 to get inside this thing, get bolted in, go down 13,000 feet where the pressure is obviously going to crush this thing like a soda can. Get out of here.
Effects of shipwrecks on our oceans.
And this is critically important when you realize that there are tens of thousands of shipwrecks from World War.
Look at all this stuff that they have on the outside.
Stockton Rush. All right. Stockton Rush is his name. We got to get Jurassic Liars on here to do his Jumaki. So you're talking about, so now we've got some NASA ISS type symbolism taking place here with the way that they have these cables running around. So did the cables go underneath the carbon fiber skin that's not supported by any internal stress?
No, see, this is all wiring on the outside of the capsule.
The
outside, not the inside.
Wow, okay.
World War II, many of which sank with toxic chemicals and fuel oil on board.
So they're going down to check out toxic chemicals on these ships, right?
The final
For
pieces
Greta.
will be put on Titan this week. Then practice dives begin as they count down to their big descent.
Very excited.
In Everett, Gabe Cohen, Como.
What a stupid hoax. What a psyop. They're fooling the people thinking they're going down 12,000 feet with that.
So this is what we had covered back when we were covering pressure, and they call it the bathysphere. Go ahead and look it up. It's on Wikipedia. It was a unique spherical deep sea submersible.
I'm sorry. I was stuttering this morning so much. You guys, it was funny.
Unpowered and lowered into the ocean on a cable, and was used to conduct a series of dives off the coast of Bermuda from 1930 to 1934.
The Bermuda Triangle?
They didn't say, but so he was studying undersea wildlife. Their dives set several consecutive world records for the deepest dive ever performed by a human. The record set by the deepest of these to a depth of 3,028 feet on August 15th, 1934, lasted until it was broken by Barton in 1949 in a vessel called Bentoscope. So we'll come back and we'll check out the Bentoscope, but here we're looking at the bathysphere.
3,000 feet. That's nowhere near 12,500.
Well, and the thing is, you need to realize what happened at that depth. There's also a story that goes with it. All right, so as of the late 1920s, the deepest humans could safely descend in diving helmets was several hundred feet. Submarines of the time had descended to a maximum of 383 feet, but had no windows, making them useless for BB's goal of observing deep-sea animals. Remember, it's one thing to go down without a window, right? Because it's going to be a lot stronger. But then you can't see anything, so what's the point of going down there?
It's ridiculous.
The deepest in the ocean that any human had descended at this point was 525 feet, wearing an armored suit, but these suits also made movement and observation extremely difficult. Alright, so talks about the window. The sphere had openings for 3 3-inch thick windows made of fused quartz. So this is the real problem. If you want to have a transparent material, you're limited in your options, and then you're limited by those things, their properties, as far as how much pressure they can withstand.
Load bearing. And we're saying this only went down 3,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
It had fused quartz.
Oxygen was supplied from high pressure cylinders carried inside the sphere. Alright, so is there any... Let's go ahead and take a look at the article here. The waters were boiling with light.
Wow.
So So here's our first picture we actually get of the bathysphere.
Oh, wow.
Right? There's a big difference between this design and the one of the Ocean Gate one. And it's basically a sphere which is going to hold the pressure in all directions in a much different way than like a pill shape's going to. So let's see. The dive, which reached a depth of 2,200 feet, was the deepest a human had ever ventured beneath the sea. It marked a major broadcasting milestone thanks to efforts of NBC's engineers. All right, so NBC was a part of this.
The news.
Yeah, they were able, through a considerable feat of technical wizardry, to relay the feed from BB's microphone in the bathysphere to NBC's facilities in New York, while simultaneously sending it via a specially constructed shortwave station aboard the bathysphere's mothership to radio listeners in England and Europe. So you could tune into this just like the moon landing. Let's see here. Here's a picture of trying to loosen the wing nut that sealed the bathysphere after
brought it up.
The empty vehicle was sent to a depth of 3,000 feet. He's opening it up, and what's he got here? He's got water pouring out of it. And this isn't a window right here. Notice that. So
look at the size of those bolts. Look at how many bolts there are. Hold on, go back up again so people can see. Look at those bolts. They're way larger. They're about 5 to 10 times larger than the bolts on the so-called Titan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way bigger bolts.
They began with a series of dives in which the empty bathysphere was empty. Right? Notice that they were saying that there were human records, but now when they're talking about the bathysphere, they're talking about it being empty and was lowered to a great depth. On one of these runs, they lowered the craft to a depth of 3,000 feet. Note that number. But when they began to bring it up, BB heard the winch's engine straining under its weight. He quickly concluded that the vessel had filled with water, thereby becoming much heavier. His description of what happened when it was on deck and they were trying to unscrew the huge brass wing nut securing hatch follows. Suddenly, without the slightest warning, the bolt was torn from our hands and the mass of heavy metal shot across the deck like a shell from a gun. The brass bolt hurtled into the steel 30 feet away across the deck and sheared a half-inch notch gouged out by the hardened metal. This was followed by a solid cylinder of water which slackened after a while to a cataract pouring out of the hole in the door. If I had been in the way, I would have been decapitated. So they've got the picture of this supposedly, right? The water is supposed to be squirting out.
They have the photography ready.
And this was when they went to 3,000 feet without people on it. All right. Let's see. On the morning of September 22nd, the seas had finally calmed, and NBC was notified that the dive would proceed that day. Announcer Ford Bond would provide a short description of the crew's preparations at 1:30 and 3 o'clock. The dive itself would be broadcast. Unfortunately, the NBC staff member making notes of the 1:30 broadcast stated that names and details could not be heard or identified due to a group of singers being in standby studio and making plenty of noise. And so this is yeah, so these depths, the 1,700 feet, the 1,800 feet, there's no light down there. So this is supposedly a hatchet fish from the 1934 dive.
Wow. That's what's down there?
That's what they're saying.
It's so ridiculous. I'm sorry. This whole story, the whole balloon thing, now we get the whole sub thing. We've been saying for years now that subs are hoaxes. They're Freemason theme features, like at a park. They drive it around a bay and then they park it.
So the bathysphere was the first one. That's the one that at 3,000 feet, it cracked its window, right? There's a good thing nobody was in there, right? Because that kind of pressure would have definitely killed the person. So this is the bathyscope. This is the one that broke the record. And this one you actually get a little bit better look at it. And there it is at the Maritime Museum. So this chunk of metal, right, they said that they were able to drop this to a larger depth. But this is to get to 3,000 feet, everybody. This is what is required to get to 3,000 feet. If we zoom in here, let's see if we can get that. There we go.
Giant steel ball.
It's just a steel ball. So world's ocean depth record of 4,500 feet for a device suspended by cable was made with this bathyscope by Otis Barton in 1949 off Southern California. Specifications: sphere, 1 3/4 inch thick chrome nickel steel, diameter 54 inches, viewports 3-inch thick fused quartz glass, weight 7,000 pounds in the air, 3,000 pounds in the water, depth rating 10,000 feet before crushing.
It's going to crush. So it's not as big as it sort of looks. It looks a little bit bigger, but so it's only 1 3/4 inch thick. That's not that thick, and 54 inches wide. Really, it's not that wide either.
Yeah. So could you imagine getting in this? All right. Remember,
couldn't really.
The Titanic's supposed to be at 13,000 feet, and this thing would crush at 10,000 feet.
But they think that they went down in the Titan.
Get out of here with that.
You guys.
Yeah, so I mean that's our debunk of the whole
song, and then go into perspective and
yeah,
distance to the horizon calculator.
Let's do it. back. And we're back at the comments section from our Flat Earth Friday of last week, where we're talking about the distance to the horizon. And I mentioned earlier that we have new world records. So these world records and the research that came out of this last week's hangout has led to 2.0 understanding regarding perspective. We actually understand this the best we ever have, and the picture's really, really clear, everyone. So what happened is we had a couple people say stuff like, that distance to horizon calc is flat out BS. Anyone living in Eugene, Oregon, if they ever see Mount Hood on a clear day, and they will say, yes, Mount Hood is 112 miles away. I don't know how far we can see, but I do know for a fact that I have seen peaks a little over 100 miles away from the ground.
Yes.
And it looks like this is a true statement, everyone.
Yeah.
Head to Eugene, Oregon, and go to a high location on a clear day, and you can probably see Mount Hood, which is 112 miles away. So that is our new record setter right there.
We had a sound effect for like woo woo. That's amazing, you guys. This is what it's all about. Actually getting to see how far can we actually see.
And so let's make this a little bit bigger here. Maybe people can read along. I said, thank you for sharing. The distance to the horizon calculator is accurate, and you have just helped identify the top 2 long-distance ground-based observations. Mount Hood is 1,249 feet tall, and the distance to the horizon from that elevation is 130 miles. I did a search. It is said that Mount Hood can be seen on a clear day from high locations in Eugene. This is now the new record we will be sharing.
So obviously when you did the research, you'd seen there are other corroborating people who said they've also filmed it or seen it as well. So it's not just a one-off.
What I found was a hiker's guide website that mentioned being able to see Mount Hood as part of 3 mountains that you can see from this high location, which is a place in Eugene where you hike up to, and then you have this mountain top view. It's a couple thousand feet above sea level.
Sisters? I can't remember. This is
No, this is Oregon.
Oregon, sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
I still think it's also called the Three Sisters. There's a bunch of those.
So he goes on to say, how on earth can you still say that the distance to the horizon calculator is accurate? It is utter crap. The horizon does not exist at all. It is an illusion brought on by your eyes.
What?
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. No, it's right there. We can see it.
I said, you responded too quickly here. I responded to your question. As to your statement here that the horizon does not exist at all, it is an illusion brought on by your eyes. The only part you got correct was the word eyes. The horizon does exist, and it is also called the vanishing point because it is where things begin vanishing. One might argue that you got the word illusion correct because we are talking about the point where things are vanishing, but the horizon vanishing point is what we observe as the rule of perspective all of the time, and the word illusion is better suited for aberrations that are out of the ordinary. Some David Blaine type stuff, right? So I came out here with the rule of perspective even comes with a formula. Here you go, everyone. For the height above sea level, it is the square root of that height times 1.23. I'll give you an example. Yeah, it's that simple. Give you an example. Something that's 100 foot tall, the square root of 100 is 10. 10 times 1.23 equals 12.3 miles. That is the distance to the horizon for an object 100 feet above sea level. I showed in my mall angel video that by placing the camera as low to the ground as you can, that the horizon begins in just a few hundred feet on a flat floor in a mall. If you have not watched the mall angel video, you really should. All right, and I do have that tab open. We might be referencing the mall angel video a little bit. But this formula here, I want to show everybody where that came from. So that came from this article right here. how far can you see a lighthouse? He's going to get the basis for this wrong. He's going to take it to heliocentrism, but there's going to be some really testable things that we can all test here, having to do with this formula. So how far a person can see out across the ocean or one of the Great Lakes is limited chiefly by this very fact. The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
Hold on. So, again, when you see the chivalry that's needed, you can tell which side it has to lie and to promote nonsense, right? There's no need for them to. So even if you were on a sphere, right, you would still have a vanishing point. You can only see so far on a surface.
That's what he's saying here. So this is where it starts to get fun. So he says the curvature of the Earth will at some point make an object being viewed invisible as it goes over the edge, or what we call the horizon. Right? So when I heard the Earth was a plane, the very first thing I did was I went looking for the curvature formula. And when I went looking for the curvature formula, you're going to see that the graphic that most people have seen here, something like this, or I think here's a better version of it, a little bit clearer. This is what I first found, and you'll never guess where I found it. I didn't find it on any website in the Google search other than Eric Dubé's channel. So when they rolled out Flat Earth, the very first thing, when a person goes looking for the curvature calculator, they were being directed to Eric's website, the Atlantean Conspiracy. But this is the truth of it right here, everyone. This is when you use AutoCAD. The hardest thing you can possibly do with a computer is try to draw a perfect circle, because when you're making it up out of pixels, it's going to it's always going to be jagged. All right, if you want to zoom in farther, all right, you want to zoom into this edge, eventually at some point it's not a perfect circle anymore, and it's going to be jagged. So when you're dealing with these big scales here, this is the closest that you can come to for if Earth was a sphere. These are the measurements. Now the rule 8 inches per mile squared is what everybody's been told. And the thing is the formula works decent for a while, up until you get out to further distances, and then all of a sudden it falls apart completely, and it's just garbage. It comes way short of the amount of curvature necessary. Let me just demonstrate something for you quick. I don't think I've ever done this. Oops. The curvature calculator is 8 inches per mile squared. So if Earth is a radius of 3959, we go 3959 squared times 8, and that is the amount of inches. Now, to get this to something more usable, let's divide this by 12 to get that to feet, and then let's divide this by 5280 to get that to miles, and it has 1979 miles of curvature. So we put in 3959, and we need 3959 to get from this point to this point right here, but the formula only gave us 1979. So 8 inches per mile squared is not enough curvature. It comes way, way, way short.
Error. It's an error.
Yeah. So we're gonna be using the calculator a little bit, but what we want to do is we want to test some iconic distances. You know, the 10-mile range, the 50-mile range, the 100-mile range, the 1,000-mile range, and then if Earth was a sphere, 3959, and then also if that's splayed out flat, that means that Earth is 24,000 miles wide, right, on a flat plane. It's not a circumference. So let's go back to this guy's article. and we'll start seeing some of the stuff that he says that are true. He says a person lying down at the edge of the ocean with their eyes approximately water level can see about 1.2 miles before the curve of the earth hides the object from being viewed. Now, if your eyes are down by the water, things will start disappearing in a couple hundred of feet.
Yeah, really less. I'm a whole lot less.
All right, so here's where the lighthouse situation comes up. The higher above water level the object or the eye of the viewer are, the greater the distance at which the objects, such as the light in a lighthouse, can be seen. This is why lighthouses are generally tall towers, or if shorter, are built on cliffs or hills to raise them far above water level. The light in a 100-foot tall lighthouse will be seen much farther away than the light in a 50-foot lighthouse. This is also why the lookout on a ship is stationed high above the deck in the crow's nest. An approximate formula to use is to multiply the square root of the height of the observer's eye above the water by 1.23 miles. Example, a person standing on a lighthouse walkway. Their eyes are 100 feet above the water. Using the formula above, the horizon appears to be 12.3 miles away. Square root of 100 is 10. 10 times 1.23 is 12.3 miles. Conversely, a lighthouse light 100 feet above the water would be visible from 12.3 miles out to sea by a viewer at water level. But unless the viewer is in a very small boat, they are up above water level, and the higher above water level the observer is, the farther away he would be able to see a light. A viewer 20 feet above the water looking at a lighthouse light 100 feet above the water would be able to see it at a distance of 17.8 miles. Using the formula above, square root of 100, we get the 12.3, plus the square root of 20, which is 4.5, times 1.23 equals 5.5 miles, so the total is 17.8. You see what just happened there, everybody? This is an important thing to get and understand. You can add the heights of both locations together, and that'll give you the distance that you can see from the highest point of the one location to the other high point of the other location. All right, so then he gets into refraction, which is not what's taking place. All right, so here's a big kicker. But no matter how bright a lighthouse light or other object is, it cannot be seen from a distance greater than where it's not the curvature. This is the distance to the horizon that we're talking about. So the brightness of the object being viewed does not make a difference! Exclamation point. So here's a scenario that you set up. We're going to take the world's strongest, most powerful laser beam light ever created, right? Whatever that most powerful thing is, and we're going to put it up in a lighthouse 100 feet above the water. Would you be able to see it any further? Well, no. That is why seacoast lighthouses, which are intended to be seen at great distance, have the largest Fresnel lenses which magnify and project their light much more powerfully. A less light object that theoretically, using the formula above, can be seen from a distance of 12 miles, for example, might fade from view in a lesser distance. So the point is, a lighthouse light 130 feet above sea level would be visible to the viewer at a distance of 20.2 miles. We can figure this all out for ourselves now, and we don't have to deal with this curvature nonsense that they're talking about here. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and bring up motion. Oh no.
Oh, you saved it.
Yeah.
You can go to thumbnail if you have to, but
it should come up. I just gotta.
Here we go. Now we're going to start talking about distance to the vanishing point, distance to the horizon, how far we can actually see.
Let's get some of this stuff out of the way here. And we can make this show a little bit more. So what I've done here is I've put in something to the graphics, and what we can do is we can move in and out, take a look at this from a whole bunch of different angles. But here's the setup that I have. I have a ship that's 50 foot tall to its crow's nest up here. So 50 foot tall, here's our formula. It's 7.07 times 1.23 for a total of 8.7 miles. And over here, we've got the 100 foot high crow's nest, and the distance to the horizon is 12.3 miles. Now we can take a look around at all this. There's where our camera was set up. But now what we're doing is we're looking at all of this on a plane. All right, this is designed on a plane. You can see the plane everywhere. I've got a body of water here, and then it's just going off in all directions. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at how this all works. So I can take the larger boat. I'm going to move it out here. And I want to show everybody these circles of sight here. So what's happening, the crow's nest of each of these boats, you've got a guy up there, you got a lookout, and neither one of these boats can see each other right now. Right, the lookout here, his circle of sight is ended here. This boat right here, his circle of sight is ended right here, and they cannot see each other. Now as you start to move closer together, what's going to happen is as soon as we have this intersection right here, the guy that's up in this crow's nest right here is actually going to be able to see this crow's nest over here.
He'll rise above the horizon.
Right? But he'll just start coming above the horizon. This will be the top of the sails,
at
just
the intersection point.
Just peeking above the horizon to the person in this lookout right here. All right, now this person that's at this lookout, his circle of sight ends here, so he is not going to see this at all. All right, but from here, you're going to be able to start seeing this show up. So then as you get closer and closer and closer, more and more of this boat is going to come into view, and eventually
you can see the whole ship.
Eventually what's going to happen is, now when this ship is getting to this point right here, for the guy that's 50 foot high right here, he's going to now see this crow's nest and the tops of these sails begin coming into view. All right, we're
a flat plane.
Exactly. So we can
exactly how we see in reality, and how water comports to being level when at rest. And this is how you would actually measure, and this is the distance to the horizon. Jason, you got it perfectly modeled. And so at this point here, neither of the two ships can see each other. Right? They're not intersecting. They're a circle of sight. So the distance to your horizon that runs around you, it has to intersect the other one. And like Jason said, the higher you are above the water, the larger you can see. And then there's a limit to that. Everything gets fuzzy. Right? So one of the first... Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the graphic of the ship could be replaced with the lighthouse. Right? Or it could be replaced with a tall building.
The CN Tower is probably the best. The Burj Khalifa. So what I wanted to state was that when I found out that the Earth was a plane and it wasn't a sphere, I started testing. So if you would just simply lie down on the ground or sit a cell phone down on the ground and film a friend or somebody else walking away on a very large, warehouse floor that is level and flat, they built it with probably water levels, they made it flat, you'll start to see less and less of that person's feet. So if you could go to the Mall Angel video, Jason, Just show people. So what we're showing here is on a larger scale, micro and macro. We're dealing with larger and smaller. And I knew that would work. So Jason went and he did this test. We have to update it and do like a remote control car. So he hired a model, and it was amazing. You had those angel wings on boarding. It just happened to be there that day at the end of the hallway here. So we know that the hallway, it's not perfect, but in between the joists and where we're sitting on the floor, you can see the next joist over is flat. And Jason showed us through looking at the railings all the way down the building. They were level perfectly. You sighted it up. So as she walks away, show everybody what happens, you know, and you documented it, live streamed it. I re-live streamed it. You documented it with multiple cameras. So her feet are gone. After she got to a certain point, they just turned into a mirror. Her feet were gone. Okay. She's not over curvature. She's beyond the camera's vanishing point. This is what we showed everybody. The ball earthers couldn't come back with anything because it's true. It's real. This is what works in reality, and you can see it in a car. You can see it on a large, flat plane. You just watch something leave your circle of sight. It's the exact. You see less and less of them, and they're gone. You know.
Yeah. So this shows a combination of a number of things. So on the left, you've got the camera from normal height, right? Maybe 5.5, 6 feet tall. And you totally see the baseboard, everything's clear. And on the right, the camera's sitting on the ground. And so here's the camera, the side view. I had a post level on the barrel of the lens, showing that the camera is set level. It wasn't being tipped into the floor or anything like that. And you can see on the recording screen, I've got a camera watching the recording stream, and it was live streamed. All right. So that's the way you document something. You show all the evidences that it's real. That you can come back and test this, do it yourself. Nothing's being faked here. But when you put it down on the floor, what happened is, as she's walking away halfway down the mall, her feet begin disappearing. And then by the end of the hall, you get this complete inversion here. And there's no feet anymore. Mm-hmm. This is on a flat plane. So this is how perspective works. And the vanishing point is set based on elevation. It's just that simple. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of that clip here.
She's wrong way, I think. Oh no.
So showing the footage on the screen, and I've got the footage playing in the background, showing everybody that this really took place. There's no doctored footage. You get an idea. And I'm saying there you get an idea of the length of the mall. It's typical mall most people are familiar with. And so here's without zoom. This is the way the mall looks. And we're going to zoom in. The mall that we're dealing with.
Where's her feet?
Here we go.
You sort of see it when she takes a step, but not really.
Yeah, when her foot comes up, you can sort of see the toe. But look at what the bag's doing.
She asked what I was doing, and I told her I'm a YouTuber. She said, "Oh yeah, what kind of topics?" And told her conspiracy. And I guess her and her boyfriend.
Starting to see the feet.
Her and her boyfriend are conspiracy people. So we'll see how many conspiracies she's.
Still, you can't really see her feet.
And you get to see the other people in the mall. Look at what the stroller is doing.
When she gets back here, you'll see that she actually does have feet.
So you're getting to see the perspective down here in the lower right. And you'll see once she gets to about mid-mall.
I see her ankle. It's starting to see a little bit of the top of the foot now when she takes a step. Coming back above the vanishing point. This is really simple. Anybody can test this. Anybody, anytime. That guy got in this shot.
She did, yeah. Crossed legs.
The assignment too. Imagine, like, she's probably thought you were crazy, but then you explain I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I guess you explain to her that, you know, your feet will disappear when you walk to the end of the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to see the foot now.
So I'm starting to back up the zoom a little bit. Look at that baseboard in the background. See, it's beyond the horizon.
That's right. And the hallway's flat, people. It's not curved.
They don't build malls curved.
They use lasers. They're within a quarter of an inch.
Somebody's getting fired if they're not level.
At least within a quarter inch. Yeah, now you can see her feet.
I'm going to be documenting
Still not the bottom.
The floor in here, the railings. This. All right, so you can see over here, she's still far enough away that without zoom, looking pretty small, but she's at about the middle of the mall now, with the amount that she's walked this far. Small is not.
It's not built on a curve. They're flat floors.
You can see where it's shiny. When it's not, now she's crossed the vanishing line.
Yes. Once she gets to the edge of this haze, all of a sudden it starts to become clear and not be this mirrored reflection.
You're coming back.
Yeah. See, now they look like real feet, but she's actually maybe only 40, 50 feet away from me at this point.
Mm-hmm. It was a great experiment. It really was.
Yep. You can see that now her feet look perfectly normal, but still the people behind her are still in that the vanishing point. They're beyond the vanishing point still.
So this proves that it has nothing to do with curvature. The distance to the horizon has nothing to do with curvature. Nothing. This emphatically proves it. It continues to stand up. Anyone can do this test. You can go to a large building where there's a long, flat floor, and you can film yourself walking away with your cell phone, and you're not going to be able to see your feet. Sometimes it gets even further depending on how far it is that you walk away from the camera. So everything has a fixed distance to the horizon, and that's the calculator that the formula that you're sharing with everybody, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go back to motion quick, and I just want to show people this. So let me switch to the camera. We're going to set this shot up a little bit. Let's get positioned at an angle to this. All right, so now show everybody we've got our big ship that's farther away, and we're going to have our nearer ship be the smaller one. And now we're going to start backing up the camera. All right. So now we're moving away from these two ships. Neither of these ships can see each other. I have to be a little bit higher. The camera's... Oops, wrong one. Camera. It's got a little angle on it. Let's reset that. Now we're going to be just above the water height here. So
demonstrate it.
Yeah. All right. So we're moving away from these two ships. They can't see each other right now. And so here's what the computer does as we're moving away. You see how the ships are getting smaller and they're getting lower and closer to the horizon. Keep moving away. We're moving flat on a plane right now. There's no pitch on the camera. Just moving away, moving away, moving away. And right around here, we're going to start to see...
We're at the vanishing point.
Gotta go. Alright. Watch what's happening to the big ship in the distance. It's starting to not be rendered anymore. And there goes the circle of the sight of that ship. So at this point right here, if we were out on sea looking towards these two boats, we would be able to see the closer ship.
It was a bit closer.
Alright. We'd be able to see that one, but we would not be able to see the 100-footer anymore. That one is now...
There's no curvature in Jason's program. It did not just go behind the curve. We're explaining and showing you how perspective works to the distance to the horizon.
So we keep going away, and there goes... Now it's starting to dissolve and disappear. The nearer ship...
The circle of sight. There, boom, vanished. Beyond the circle of sight.
There it's gone. Alright, so now we are...
See how it's observed.
Far enough away that we can't see either of them. But let's go ahead and come back towards these ships. So now all of a sudden, we've got our first ship showing up. And then we start to see our second ship showing up. Alright, now we can see both.
That's some mana right there.
Yep, and that, we'll go back to the...
That was great.
Perspective. Let's get a little bit bigger view.
I hope everybody, I'm pretty sure we could show this to somebody in kindergarten and they would understand. Okay. This is very simple, you guys. This is the way that the realm works.
Yeah, so we're
talking just about the floor right now. This is just the floor.
Yeah, we can model this with anything, and you can use the formula now, everybody, and you can figure out the same things. Let's go ahead and move these boats together again. Showing you one more time. I gotta have those panes open to be able to make the adjustments I'm doing. Wish I could show a little bit more, but here we're going to move the larger ship towards. Alright, and realize everybody that this is the first point where the person in the crow's nest right here is going to begin to be able to see the crow's nest over here. It's not going to be able to see the bottom of the ship. It's going to be able to see the top, and it's going to be small, and it's going to be at the horizon. If this was a lighthouse out here, this is when you would first, this boat, if you were up in the crow's nest, you would first begin able to see the lighthouse light, which is going to be down, small, and close to the horizon. And then the closer you get, it's going to rise up and be brighter. But so this ship could see this crow's nest at this point. This ship cannot see this ship at all. Yeah, but let's move these closer together. So at this point right here,
fully
yeah,
in view.
This crow's nest can see everything fully in view, right down to the water line. And this ship, this person up in the crow's nest, is going to just begin seeing the crow's nest of this ship and the tops of the sails as it's moving towards. And then as it comes closer, now from this crow's nest, the entire ship is going to be in view. You'll be able to see right.
Ships can see right to the water.
Right to the water.
And to the top of the crow's nest.
Mm-hmm. And so just
really simple.
Yeah, just something for you all if you want to play around with this. You take your your height of one location, height of another location. It's going to tell you their circles of sight. And you can add those two together, and that's going to give you the maximum, where from the highest point, you're going to start to be able to begin to see the highest other point. So, and this is all to sea level. All right, so you may end up in a place that it's all artificial horizon around you. But if you're talking about hills and mountains and stuff like that, you can just use the sea level values and test and see whether or not from one location that you would be able to see the other. And then you would have to go out in perfect viewing conditions with a good zoom camera and see whether or not you can actually see it.
Well, so this is the reason why Jason and I were easily able to debunk all the different nonsense that the different fake flat earth community members came out with, because we would just measure to the distance of the horizon, because we know this is actually how it works, because we modeled it. We've tested it in modeling programs, and we see, yes, this is exactly how it works. And then we go out and actually witness it. So the reason why you can also do this simple test, if you back out a bit from that view, or if you just picture yourself lower on the ground on the water line, and then you rise up in altitude, so you can put one boat outside of the circle of sight, and you'd think, oh, maybe it's over a curve, it's gonna be on the curve. But then when you rise up in altitude, you then see beyond the two ships, and you can still see that it's flat beyond the point where you now see due to the rise in altitude. You start to realize that it's just water is just flat and level in all directions. When it's not moving, it's perfectly level. It's how we level things.
Yeah, so with
that's the demonstration right there. You just did it perfectly.
Yeah, with the camera motion right now, this is, so here's exactly at water level, right? And then this is a straight motion up. Right, with the camera.
Observe in reality. You see how we now have a distance further to the horizon behind the two boats, and we can clearly see that there's, if you had a third boat that was behind these ones, it would have been out of our circle of sight. But then you rise up and you can see that there's still flat distances between these two boats. And if you had a third boat in the distance, we'll have to continue to add to this. Maybe for next Friday, we'll add some more boats to this and try to explain it in more ways. But it's really, really simple. Right? You can only see so far, and you can only magnify what you can see. You can't zoom in past the distance to the horizon. That's the other reason why
a lighthouse's light is not going to shine beyond the distance to the horizon that it's being viewed from. Right?
It's not going to go any further. It's done. It's the distance.
All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of testing of this new formula we have. So the guy gave us the formula in that article. Now this is what we've always had in the past here, the distance to the horizon calculator. And so it does say the mathematics behind this calculation, and it gives you this triangle. It doesn't actually give you any formula. It just shows there's a V, there's two R's, there's a C, an H. And yeah, there's no formula for this. So the entire time that we've been using this site, we haven't actually known the formula. All we could do is punch in a number here. Let's go 100 and 100 feet. And so this says 12.3 miles.
So you can see at 100 feet in the air, on a hot air balloon, you now have a 12-mile circle of sight.
And so this is a total match to the formula that we've been using, where square root of the height times 1.23, 100 feet tall, is 12.3 miles. Let's go ahead and go to 1,000 feet. All right, so 1,000 feet is 38.7 miles according to this calculator. And we'll test this out. 1,000 square root times 1.23. And we've got 38 point, we'll round it to 9. All right, so
it might even be a little more accurate than the website.
So we're close. And so I've tested this out. If you go 2,000 feet, it says 54.8. And then we'll do it with the formula. We're going 2,000 square root times 1.23. and we've got 55 even. All right, so that's very close, just 0.2 miles off. Let's start bumping this up. Let's go 10,000, 122.5, square root of 10,000 times 1.23. We're at 123 miles. So we're still staying within 1 mile of being accurate, right? The two. So this
formula.
This is the formula. It really is the formula. And the thing is once you understand that the formula for the distance to the horizon is the altitude, the square root of the altitude times 1.23, you're going to start to realize that that's not a curvature calculation.
Not a curve. It's not a curve.
It's not a curve. It's a parabolic slope. And the thing you can do is, like I was just testing this earlier, here's a spreadsheet. I'll get these other ones off. That's the Hebrew calendar. But so just a real simple test I wanted to see for myself. So the first column is just its numbers consecutive. And what do I go up to? I ran this up to 39.59. All right, so we're up to 77.39. This is the formula, the square root of this number times 1.23. And the thing is you can map that out. And that is going to give you...
Let's map it out. Live.
Well, there it is. I had to scroll back up. So there's your parabolic curve. When you plot out from 1 going on up, and you do the square root times 1.23, it plots out like this.
And that's basically how we see to the horizon. That should be the perfect shape of the circle around you.
And it's going to be the same type of slope that you have with the curve calculator. So that's miles squared, square times 8 inches. So it's the same type of formula. What you'll see is that they're accurate for a while, then eventually they start to fall apart. If we bump this up to 500,000 feet, it says that the distance to the horizon is 871.5 miles. We'll test this out this way, 500,000. Square root times 1.23.
Yeah, that's right.
We're still very close.
In a mile.
Right, let's try this at 1,000,000 feet.
1,000,000 feet. 6 million feet.
So at 1,000,000 feet it says 1239.8. We'll go 1,000,000. All right, so now it's starting to vary. Now we're up to, it's off by almost 10. Almost 10. And you'll see that as you go higher and higher here, that it's going to become less and less accurate. That's what happens with the curvature calculation, where it's miles squared, and then where you're doing square root here, you also end up getting to a point where it's not very accurate. But since we've actually shown that this distance to the horizon calculator is very close, maybe this is more accurate, we don't know, but Ronnie mentioned it earlier. So the distance to the horizon here is 1,239 miles. Now Earth is 24,000 miles wide on a flat plane. So what did we say we had to get up to here? It was
76,000 miles.
It was 400 million feet. Or no, that made it too big.
What's 76,000 miles divided by 12?
All right. 250 million. I might be putting in too many zeros here. 250.
You're pushing it.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the numbers are jumping around here. 150.
There's thousands, not millions. You got too many zeros.
No. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is, yeah, so like 125 million feet. And 125 million feet. Divided by 5280. Yeah, it's 23,674 miles. I think we were doing it.
What?
I think we were doing it wrong the other time. This is, you'd have to be 23,000 miles high.
Okay.
Right, in order to see Earth from side to side if you were in the middle of it.
Well, the number shouldn't it be larger than 24,000? So you're in the center of the map, and it's 12,000 miles each direction, right?
Yeah, I guess it would be a little bit higher. Yeah, so
I thought it was. I don't think you did the numbers the same as we did it earlier, so we could be wrong. But hey, whatever. We'll always stand corrected if somebody wants to correct us. So let's do let's go through the calculations again. You said if we back engineer it, if the height. So you're saying to see. So the square root. What's the square root of 24,000?
Square root of
24,000 divided by 24,000? No. Sorry, everybody.
Square roots.
My favorite thing.
Square roots are tough to come up with. Yeah, so the square root of 24,000 is 154.9.
Okay.
Times 1.23. That means that if you were
100.
If
not working like earlier.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
We can move on. Let's just move on.
Oh, we're converting feet to miles. We're talking 24,000 feet high, not 24,000 miles high. There's a big difference there. There's a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. We can move on. We can
play with that. You can play with that. Trying to think what else we have tabs wise here. Oh, we could go show you a little bit of gravy, everyone.
We had that last.
Here's something that showed up in the feed today, and check this out.
That's the moon, right? It's full moon.
Full moon. So this moon actually is below the airplane right now, and we've shown Wolfie's footage of this. Wolfie's a Globe Earth pilot, and he's a shill, and he's shown the sun and the moon below his airplane before, and this is something that we harp on big time, that the planes can actually travel above the luminaries. Here's a perfect example of it, and there's really a lot of this. This was another link that you shared, and here's
from the Goldsmith.
Here's the sun. Watch this one.
That's lower than the plane wing.
You got...
It's impossible on your AE map.
The sun's right here, but before the horizon. The guy pans to the right. Plane, wing, right? And keep in mind that you're always sitting higher than the wings. You're not below the wings, right? You're higher than the wings. So this is showing that you're actually looking down at the wing here. Right, you're above. You can see the top side of the wing. It's way above the sun.
Remember, you can only see so far. Remember how far we can see to the horizon also deals with the sun, the moon, and the stars.
Yeah, there's so many ways you can look at this. That sun is above the clouds. We can see that. But it's not illuminating the top side of the airplane wing. All right? This side's not being illuminated. The sun's not above the wing, looking down, shining down on it. It's in shadow. So not only, it's just above the cloud layer down here, but before the horizon in the background. All right.
That was a good clip, you know?
Boom.
So we could do a recap if you want.
Sure.
So tonight we showed the submarine submersible, and then Jason, if you could pull up that, what was that, bathroom smear, whatever that steel ball is.
This thing?
10,000. Here's the record right here. This is your deep diving sphere. This one's got the record of 4,500 feet. And it says here, if it goes down to 10,000, it just implodes, crushes.
Yeah.
So if you guys believe in the Titan and all that other nonsense going down 12,000 feet, you're just believing fairy tales. So that was that. And then with you went through, if you want to go through what you felt and saw, I just wanted to point that out. Like, that's my takeaway from tonight with the whole Titan.
Yeah, the submersible is nonsense. The pressure is intense. Find the charts that show the pressure at the different depths. I believe it goes up 1 atmosphere every 10 meters. And the atmosphere is sea level pressure. So 1 atmosphere of pressure on 1 square inch of surface is subjected to a force of 14.6 inches at sea level, and then pressures increase about 1 atmosphere for every 10 meters of water depth. So every 10 meters, there's another atmosphere, and PSI, pounds per square inch, and that adds up to be a lot because there's a lot of surface area. If you measure up all the surface area on this thing, there's quite a few square inches there, right? And that's the reason why it'll collapse when it's at a depth of 10,000 feet. So that's nonsense. And then we covered, the curvature calculation is a squared function, so miles squared times 8 inches, but it comes short. And so curvature is wrong. Distance to the horizon is the real thing. And this calculator here is pretty accurate to reasonable heights. So let's say you go to the top of the Burj Khalifa and you're 1,800, and I think it's like 50 some odd feet. You can see 52.7 miles to the horizon, and that's it. If something's 53 miles away, 54 miles away, you can't see it. It's too far away. Unless if it itself is tall and has a circle of sight big enough that you'll be able to see it. So
it can be seen from too.
Yeah, take the 2 circles of sight into consideration and see whether or not they're at any time going to be visible to each other. If they're not, you can just throw it away as not a possibility. So you can discard disinformation, and you can avoid wasting your time trying to spot things that are just too far out of your circle of sight.
Or just go in, and observe and test and do as we've done and we'll continue to do, and measure things with your camera. Go and investigate the reality. That's what we're here. What are you alive for? We're alive to try to figure it out and investigate it and share what we find. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's Perspective 2.0.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone, for chilling out with us. Hope you guys enjoyed the brand new music. Shout out to everybody celebrating Yanipev, the Midsummer's Eve celebration over where the Goldsmiths at. Hope everybody else had a great week. So we'll be live on Sunday. You'd said we're going to go over some areas of the Book of Revelation, some bowls and trumpets, and we're going to talk. It's going to be fun, right?
We're going to work on our end times eschatology with graphics.
Estiological?
I think that's what they say.
Well, I mean, thank you, brother, for doing this, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I enjoyed tonight.
It's been great. Where's the only... Well, where are people going to hear this stuff, brother?
Only on the Yahawashai News Networks.